Thank you for joining Dr. Andrew Gardner for Your Health and You. This program will challenge you to live a healthy lifestyle from God's Word and the best health practices. Call your friends and family members together for the program, Your Health and You. And now, here is your host, Dr. Andrew Gardner. Be blessed as you listen.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our program this afternoon, Your Health and You. We're so glad you can join us today, and we trust and pray that your day is going good. It has been a bright and sunny day today here in Antigua. Hope it was where you are as well. And we hope that those of you who were affected by the tropical storm Fiona, which has now become a hurricane, that you are recovering and doing well. So our heart goes out to you today. I just want to let you know that you're in tune with Second Advent Radio, 101.5 on your FM dial. Okay, you can also view us on our YouTube channel, and also you can listen to us on our online portal. Also, you can like and share as well. And also, you can reach us on secondadventradio@gmail.com, or you can call us at telephone numbers 562-1015 or 781-2658. That's where you can meet us anytime, any place, any question, any concerns. We can be reached right here at Second Advent Radio. Well, once again, we're here and we greet all our friends in Radio Lands, those in Antigua, Barbuda, those in Montserrat, yes, those in the Emerald Isle, Montserrat, also those in Nevis and St. Kitts, and those also on the U.S. mainland and those in the UK. Yes, we have folks in the UK listening. We want to thank you for joining us here on Second Advent Radio. And also folks in Grenada, Trinidad, yes, they're listening, they're locked in, and we thank God that you're here, you're following us here on this program, Your Health and You. And so this afternoon, we have a very intriguing topic for you this afternoon. But before we go, we want to remind us of our key text. Yes, they want you to memorize this key text every week. And our key text is Psalm 139, verse 14. I'll praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and my soul knoweth quite well. And we're talking about getting it real. You know, the psalmist David saying, look, I'll praise God because I'm fearfully and I'm wonderfully made. And all of us are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if we are fearfully and wonderfully made, then we need to do more to take care of ourselves. And so that's what this broadcast is all about. Giving information, educating you, so we can take better care of yourself. And so this afternoon, call a friend, call a chair, pull up a chair, get some water, not some popcorn, some water. Yes, and if you have to have popcorn, yes, some popcorn and water. I just sit to listen, enjoy, take notes, and just share. And to call, let us know how we are doing and how the broadcast is blessing you at this time. But before we begin, we're going to bow our heads as we pray. Lord, we thank you for another day. We thank you for traveling mercies. We thank you for bringing us safely here this evening at the Second Advent Radio, where we will discuss another topic of health on Your Health in You. With the listening audience now, and may Holy Spirit bless us. May we learn much. And even though we might be challenged by what is being said, Lord, pray that we'll accept it in faith, and that we'll try our best to be different in terms of our lifestyle, in terms of our dietary choices, so we can be in the best of it, so we can say like a psalmist David, I'll praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and my soul knows quite well. In Jesus' name we pray. Let God's people say amen. Now, the last time we were here, we spoke about sugar and the use of and the country use of sugar. And we discovered that a little sugar is good, yes, but we must be careful in the amount that we ingest on a daily basis, or each time we eat our food, or when we drink our beverages. We must be careful to make sure that we do not overconsume soft beverages, because these are laden with sugar. Also, we must also read labels, because there's a lot of sugar out there, but in different forms, right? And we want to make sure you understand the different forms of sugar out there. Not everything is going to mark sugar. So you got to be careful in terms of what you buy and to make sure you're buying the right stuff as well. Now, this evening we want to look a little at something else that we use a lot. We would have spoken about it some time ago, but today just a matter of reminding us quickly. And we're talking about salt. Yes, salt. Everybody likes salt, and they like salt on everything, You have your vegetables, you cook up your vegetables, or you slice them up, and you have to throw some salt in it, or you fry an egg, and you have to put some salt in it, or you boil egg, you have to put some salt in it, or you cook the food, and apparently it's not salt enough, so you're going to put some more salt in it. And so we're putting a lot of salt in our system. That is not really good for us, right? And by way of definition, the chemically salt is a combination of sodium and chlorine. Two common and essential elements. They're important. You need salt and you need chlorine. But it's the quantity that's the challenge. In fact, sodium chloride, common table salt, is actually necessary in the human dietary. Yes, it's necessary. However, as with sugar, the problem lies in the quantity. Right? The quantity. The amount that we ingest. It is estimated that approximately 1/3 gram of salt is needed each day by the body. This amount can be obtained easily through the common foods such as vegetables. Yes, you heard me right. You can get the salt intake from the vegetables you eat because, as we said before, we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and our Creator didn't just make us, He also provided the food that we need. And in the food, there are the nutrients and the different elements that we need to give us the energy to build strong bones, to build good tissues, to make us be resilient so our constitution can be good. Now, our constitution or our immune system, we got to make sure that our immune system is strong. Now, salt has been used to season food for many centuries. It was a trade commodity between Europe and many underdeveloped countries throughout the Middle Ages until the 19th century. Today, the average American diet, and we always use America as a yardstick, consumes an average of 10 to 15 grams of salt each day. And by extension, in Antigua now, we have so many fast food places that we are fast becoming like an Americanized place when it comes to how we eat and how we flex, as I say these days. And so we are consuming just about the same amount of stuff that the American folks consume. High fat, high salt, high pepper, yes, you name it, ketchup in excess is there. We are doing that. There's some folks who can't live without the fast food. I don't know why. And in the fast food, there's a predominance of salt. And when you look at the deep fryers in those fast food places, when they finish fry the fries or it come out the deep fry now, you notice that they put the salt shaker and they shake the salt in it and stir it up, and then they serve it in small packets in terms of the amount that you want at that time. And so you're consuming a lot of salt. And not only that, but a lot of the meat products that you eat, they use salt to preserve them. And so that's more salt again added to the body. Now, almost all of consumed salt is pure crystalline products, or the common table salt. This concentrated form of sodium chloride overloads the body with a substance that is powerful electrolytes. Right? When we unbalance our electrolytes, we set up a potential for danger. In other words, we need the electrolytes in the body. But excessive salt now is going to cause these electrodes to be unbalanced. So we want to make sure that they keep things in balance. So too much salt is going to chew off the electrolytes. So you want to make sure that, and see, the electrolytes are very good to help replenish lost energy. So if this is so important, then you got to make sure that you understand that too much salt, excessive salt, is going to cause this unbalancedness in the electrolytes that your body needs, and so you got to be careful how much salt you eat. When we unbalance our electrolytes, as we said, we set up a powerful electrolytes. When we unbalance our electrolytes, we set up a potential for danger. Later on in the study, we will explain more clearly the relationship between electrolytes, minerals, and why their balance is so critical to optimum health. Now, salt seems to have detrimental effects on a great many functions of the body. Yes, we know that salt retards the digestion and assimilation of protein food. Alright, when there's too much salt in the stomach now, the stomach is going to spring more fluid, and more fluid in the stomach is a slowdown in the digestion. Yes, a slowdown in digestion. And apart from that, if you're eating salty food, you're going to be tempted to consume a lot of liquid. And that's another problem. Because the more liquid in the stomach is, the more sluggish the digestion is going to be. And of course, most people, they have the habit of eating and drinking. They cannot eat unless they drink. And so that is a problem. Those who do that, they slow down their digestion, because what the stomach has to do more work than it should be doing, because there's too much liquid in the body. Now, other common ill effects from an imbalance of sodium chloride includes kidney problems and hypertension. Yeah, your pressure can go up, your kidney can start to malfunction, because the kidney is the organ that filters. And if the kidney is overburdened by an excess of salt, you're going to have some issues with your kidney, and you don't want to have problems with your kidneys, because we can see what leads to problem with the kidney. You can have renal failure, then you can be placed on dialysis, because the kidney just not making it. So you got to watch your diet and to make sure that you're not consuming too much salt. Alright? Salt may be the single greatest cause of high blood pressure. We come back again to the ill effects of too much salt. Not only kidney issue, but also hypertension, high blood pressure. So you want to cut out the excessive salt. Alright? This is substantiated by studies that shows a direct correlation between salt consumption and the incidence of hypertension in various ethnic groups. And so you want to make sure that you understand that you could be vulnerable. So the less salt you use, if you can use the food with salt, better yet. Because the food that you consume, it is cooked with salt. Because you have to put the salt to taste. So therefore, it doesn't have salt. It may not have the excess, but salt is there. Now, kidney function is dramatically impaired through the use of salt. As we said before, kidney function is greatly impaired by the use of salt. It is the kidneys that must eliminate all the salt from the body. Yes, you heard me right. The kidney has to eliminate all the salt from the body. And for it to do so, you got to make sure you do things in moderation and not to do things out of balance. There is great stress upon the kidneys to continually dilute and eliminate the excess of concentrated salt. One of the most common side effects of an overindulgence of salt and the kidney's inability to wash it away is the effect known as edema. When you retain fluid, it's because the body now is trying to retain as much fluid because the salt content is high. This is a waterlogging of tissues which is the body's defense mechanism against a salt-laden cell. So when there's too much salt now, the body is going to retain fluid so it can help to cope and to wash away some of those salt. Alright? Water is flooded into the tissue in an effort to dilute the salt concentration within them. So that's why it's important that you be careful not to consume too much salt. Now, a simple test to find out if your body has an overabundance of salt is to taste the perspiration on your forehead. So when you're sweating, either by walking or doing some kind of activity, just wipe your brow and just taste the sweat. And if it's over salt, then you know the body has an excess of salt. So you want to make sure that, by the way, the perspiration is going to stay salty, but not over excessively salt. Even the urine. Sometimes you go to the doctor and they use a dipstick to test the urine to see the amount of urea in the urine, to see if there's salt, there's blood, whatever it is you're looking for. And sometimes the salt content is very high. Now they have markers on this dipstick to indicate whether poor, bad, indifferent, or over excessive. And so when you put that dipstick in the urine now, when it comes out now, the different coloration on that dipstick will indicate to you just how your system is functioning. Alright? Okay. Now, as we said before, a simple test is when you're sweating, just wipe your brow and taste it, and you can know definitely if you have an abundance of salt in your diet or in your body. Also, the same is true for sugar. You want to know if there's an excess of sugar or if sugar content is high. When you pass the urine, you can test it. It's your urine. Doctors used to do it before. As a matter of fact, doctors used to take people's urine and the doctor literally would taste it himself. You may say that may be gross, but that's how they used to check for urine before, to see if indeed, and if the urine tastes sweet, it means that your sugar content is high. And you got to watch that. So it's nothing bad. It's the method used before to test to see the level of the salt or the sugar content in your body. Okay. Now, one of the challenges that we have is that modern packaging and processing has caused us to intake far more salt than in previous times. Yeah. Everything that we use, especially in meat products or even in canned goods, one of the greatest preservatives is salt. Yeah. Pick a meat, pick a mackerel, pick a pork, chicken, everything. Everything is preserved by salt. Sometimes they preserve meat by corning it. In other words, they put an abundance of salt on the meat so that bacteria cannot live with it. That's why you have saltfish and lingfish and all this kind of fish, because they corn them. They corn beef, pick a mackerel, pick this and pick that. One of the ingredients in that is salt. Right? And so you're getting all the salt in your system. Sometimes you boil out the saltfish or the mackerel, but it's still salt. Shad is always salt. You could dry it out, you can clean it out, you can wash it out, you can boil it out, it's still salty. Right? And still some folks tend to salt the pot when they cook certain food, even though the stuff already have salt in it. It was preserving salt, it was there in the salt content for all this while, which means that the salt is going to be high in this stuff. Alright? So you want to keep that in mind. Salt is a very inexpensive preservative, and as such is added practically every food during processing. That's what we said just now. Because salt is a preservative and it's one of the cheapest form of preservative now, it is put in everything. Even in your cereal box there's salt. In your sugar box there's salt. In your macaroni there's salt. In your soups there's salt. But it has to be salty because the salt has to preserve it. That's why we said before in some time ago that a lot of the food that's on the shelf, they're not so much there for the nutritional value so much as to the shelf life. In other words, the item have a expiry date, because even though the content or one of the preservative or the main preservative is salt, it still has a time with it. You cannot leave that there forever. After a while, you gotta take that off the shelf, because the more it stays on the shelf in that tin, is the more salt it gets, because it is really concentrated, and so the longer it stays there, it's just like rum. If you want to get the real alcohol, leave that thing there for a while, leave it there for years, and when you're ready to drink it, trust me, it's pure alcoholic drink in there. You can call it all you want, but the longer it stays there, is the more it gets, the more it cures, and it becomes richer and richer and richer, and more deadlier for the body. Now, the taste of salt food is habitual. In other words, we want to taste the salt in the food. Alright? Now, all the finer taste now, if you use too much salt, the other taste buds that are around the tongue, they are rendered useless because the salt overtakes them. So in other words, then all the craving you have is for salt, and because you're eating so much salt, the body gets accustomed to. It's like the body saying, I don't have enough salt, it doesn't taste salty, and you keep dosing the thing with salt, you keep dosing it, and even though it is salty to somebody else, to you, it's still not salt. Why? Because you're accustomed to eating so much salt now that the body gets accustomed, so the body saying, I don't have enough of the salt, so I need more salt. What you need to do is to educate the body away from the consumption of salt, and for you to recognize that you need less salt, right? And then if you're going to consume a lot of salt, then you got to consume a lot of water. You got to drink a lot of water to help dilute and to save the electrolytes in your body. All right, you need to do that. Now, so salt is good, but in moderation. We're not going to say to salt doesn't have its purpose. It has its purpose, but you got to do so in moderation. So we talked about sugar and we talked about salt. You might be asking the question, so what do we do? Now, there are substitutes out there. All right? They have an alternative to salt, which is 60% potassium and 40% sodium, which will help to reduce the craving. All right? So we must reduce our consumption of the common salt and avoid the salt shakers on the table, because somebody is going to be tempted to add a little more salt. It's not salty. You know, when you visit certain places where they serve food, you notice that sometimes some of the dishes they come, they kind of blanch. They do not have any taste, or they don't have salt in it. So they allow you now to use your own salt. They fry egg, they boil the egg there, but they're not putting any salt in it. They might put a lot of pepper and onion and other nice stuff in season it up and so, but they're careful not to put any salt, because they want you to recognize that if you put too much salt, you can't blame anybody except yourself. And that's a kind of smart way to do it, but it's a healthy way. You put on your salt, but you must remember that you must do so in moderation. You must not be over consuming salt. You must use just what you need for your body. Now, we want to shift gears a little bit to coffee, tea, cocoa, and cola. Coffee, tea, cocoa, and cola. Again, we're told that the Americans drink million tons of coffee each year. Yeah. And not only that, but here in Antigua also, and around the Caribbean, coffee has become a staple in the breakfast room, a staple in the office. Everywhere you go, there's a coffee maker in an office in Antigua. And everywhere you go right now, because coffee has become something that people uses, and some will say, well, they need to use the coffee to keep them awake. The body feel lethargic. they feel exhausted, and coffee is what they use to pick them up because there's something in the coffee that is keeping them awake even though they need to sleep. All right? So each of these beverages that we call the coffee, the tea, the cocoa, and the cola contains caffeine, a chemical which we know to have harmful effects on the human biochemistry. We are aware of the many ill effects of caffeine. Studies have shown a direct correlation between to the stomach and duodenal ulcers and the consumption of caffeine. This is only part of the problem, however. Caffeine is a stimulant, and therefore it is most often forbidden for patients with a history of cardiac problem. Blood pressure has been known to drop as much as 20 points or more by the simple elimination of caffeine-containing substances. In other words, when you reduce your consumption of caffeinated drinks and all this stuff that having caffeine, it lowers your blood pressure points by 20. All right? It lowers your blood pressure by 20 points when you reduce the amount of these beverages that you consume. Now, here's a big one. Decaffeinated coffee and teas should not be considered reasonably substitute for colas because they have a potential side effect too. So you when you go to certain health food stores or even supermarket, you know they have decaffeinated caffeine. But here what's happening here now. The most common method of decaffeination is a process using the chemical formaldehyde. Now, formaldehyde is used because it's relatively cheap. Just like salt, inexpensive, is widely used as preservative. Now, here's it now. When it comes to our drink now, to decaffeinate the caffeine now, to take the caffeine out of the coffee, as I say now, or the stimulant, or to render it ineffective now, they're going to use the chemical formaldehyde, and this is a chemical used to preserve human and animal tissue after the death of the organism. In other words, it is used to preserve dead bodies. Huh? And this is also used in food. So this formaldehyde is not something that we need to ingest because anything that is used to preserve tissues of dead organism like a dead human being or cadavers, it means that if that is going to preserve that piece of flesh that is dead already, or to keep it intact for the purpose of education, whatever, it means that our bodies should not be digesting that. Simple as that. Our bodies should not be digesting that. So anything that has formaldehyde is bad. Right? It's bad for human consumption. A better thing for us to use is herbal teas such as peppermint and others, spearmint and all these herbal teas. They will do just a good and even better job than the chemicals that we ingest day after day. Other herbal teas that are good for you include rose hip, safflower, chamomile, quat tea. There are many others, varieties of herbal teas that are beneficial as well, and we're going to name them a later on as we continue our broadcast. Now, we talk about sugar, we talk about salt, and we talk about formaldehyde, that chemical that is used as a preservative as well. Now, soft drink, especially those containing caffeine, have gained such great popularity that they have become a deciding factor in the American diet and in every diet as well. Because while we use America, we must also use what's happening around us. Because when you look at every supermarket now, there's Coca-Cola, there's cola, There's caffeine. Everything now having caffeine. Even some medication having caffeine in it. So we're reaching to the point now where we have to eliminate certain things. Even though this thing may be good, they put caffeine in it. Now, there's some drink or energy drinks that they take for medicinal purposes. And the main ingredients in some of these stuff is caffeine. Like Lucozade. You notice nowadays when that thing came out first, it wasn't a caffeinated beverages, but now it's a caffeinated beverage. The same Lucozade. So sometimes when you are lethargic and you're recovering from an illness and you need a quick pickup, there are strategical Lucozade. It comes in different flavors, but nowadays what they do now, they put in caffeine in everything because what? The caffeine gives you a lift. It's a stimulant. It causes your body, the nerves in your body and the system to be altered when you drink it. In other words, when you're feeling drowsy and you're feeling lethargic, you don't need to rest and you want to still go on that long distance journey, either in a car or something, and you want to stay at the office to do just one more task before you leave home, but you're tired, your eyes are tired. What do? You drink a cup of coffee to stay awake because coffee is a stimulant. Caffeine is a stimulant that is going to alter your mood. So whereas you should be sleeping now, you're awake. Why? Because you're consuming enough caffeine to keep you awake. And what it does, your body not really getting the rest. What you're doing more harm to your body than good. Because what you need now is not to get more energy to continue work, but your body says it needs to rest. Let the body rest. Avoid drinking the caffeine when the body needs to rest. Alright? Now, in reality, soft drink cannot be labeled as food. They contain water, chemicals, some minerals, and sugar. Nutritionists have long known of the many detrimental effects of soft drink have on our health, and we have tried to bring attention to these effects. Of particular interest in recent study of the effects of soft drink on the human body has been those studies which show a link between the consumption of soft drink and effects on the teeth. Yes, you heard me right. It has been shown that the sucrose or sugar in soft drink combined with phosphoric acid in the beverages can cause moderate to severe dental erosion. Human teeth placed in a Coca-Cola solution shows considerable calcium loss in as much as little as 3 hours. Alright, so we got to be careful as to the over consumption of sugar, and we want to make sure that we do what is right. Now you might be asking the question, so what do we do? Now, if we give credence to everything we hear, it will seem that everything is bad for us. On the contrary, it's not everything is bad. There are many foodstuffs that will provide nutrition without harmful side effects. However, when our daily food consumption is made up of man-made food rather than food from nature in the natural state, then we are placing ourselves at great risk. Alright? So when we substitute what God has put there and we ingest more of what man makes, then we put ourselves in a very serious situation. This planet of ours offers an abundance of foods, wonderful to the taste and delightful in their variety. And we must re-educate ourselves to eat those things that are good for us and give us those that are not bad. And give up those that are bad. We have to recondition our minds to form habits of a new style of eating. Yes, we gotta re-educate our minds. We want to change our habits so that 80% of our foods we eat are in their natural state. Then we'll be reaping the rewards of a good nutrition, and we'll find it a small matter to eliminate 1 or 2 products which do us harm. In other words, when you learn to change your lifestyle, when you change your diet and the approach how we eat now, you'll find that it gets easier now to eliminate those things that are harmful to your body. Now, abstinence from high processed foodstuff of modern civilization is an absolute must if we are to walk the road to good health. What we need to understand is that there is a direct correlation between what we eat and optimum health. Now, there's some folks who will be asking why you keep talking about eating, because that's what we do most times. Some of us eat 3 meals a day and snacks in between. And some of us, when we sit to eat, we eat a lot. Our plates are packed. Our bowls are filled because we want to eat enough. But sometimes we eat too much. And we feel bloated, we feel heavy, we feel full more than we should because what? We have eaten too much. Alright? So we got to make sure that we understand that. And it's not the quantity, but it's the quality of what you eat that matters now. You can eat a small portion that is well balanced, or you can eat a large portion that is unbalanced. Because a large portion means that you will have a whole plate of rice which is starch. Or maybe you have a whole big loaf of bread, like today Sunday, you have the Sunday bread. And you choose to eat half of that with maybe a little butter in it. Some people use mayonnaise. Some people use maybe a little sardine or some kind of relish or something they use to eat the bread with. But by and large, you have an unbalanced diet because what? You have so much starch, very little protein, no vegetables, no fruit. So all you have is just pure starch, which end up to be pure calories, which ain't going to help the body. Sometimes you may have the reverse, where you have a whole plate of meat, very little starch, no vegetables. This is an unbalanced diet. If you want to have a balanced diet, you must have the protein, whether in animal form or in plant-based, have it in the right proportion, have your carbohydrates in the right proportion, have your fats in the right proportion, have your vegetables in the right proportion, so that you have a balanced diet. So you bring things back into balance. And also, we need to abstain from what causes harm and to recognize that if we abstain from what causes harm, we won't die, we will live. Now, there's some folks who, because of habits, they think they can't change from what they do. Even though health-wise they're killing themselves, they prefer to die. Or they say, oh, something have to take them out. Why is it that your food have to take you out? Your food doesn't have to take you out. We are bringing you information to help you to recognize that each time you sit and eat, that food you consume must be doing something positive for your body. It must be helping you nutrition wise. It must strengthen you. It must add energy you need. It must add the enzyme and the minerals you need, and all the elements that you need for growth must be in your food. Yes, that's how the Creator made us. That all that we need is in our food. Anything outside that, we're going to put ourselves in some serious challenges. Alright? Now we want to look quickly at some other areas that we need to focus on, some foods that we need to keep in mind. Protein, fats, carbohydrates, and fiber. So we are talking about now protein, fats, carbohydrates, and fiber. Now, every food we consume can be classified into one of 4 basic groups. And we just mentioned protein, fats, carbohydrates, fibers. Alright? So, every time we consume food, we should be consuming a proportion or a serving or 2 serving, as the case may be, of one of these elements there: protein, fats, carbohydrates, fibers. Foods consumed in the natural state, as discussed earlier, are made up primarily of one of these main groups. Man-made foods, or food artifacts, sometimes created by man, often are made up of non-natural combination of these groups. This can prevent a variety of problems. So, we have the plant-based diet, or the plant-based foods, and then we have those that are man-made food. Now, the man-made food would always be what we call it now, would be depleted in terms of the nutritional value. It wouldn't have the required amount of nutrients in the right potency in it, because what? It is man-made. And because it is man-made, you're going to find there's going to be inefficiencies, there's going to be less quality, but lacking quantity. Alright? Now, I want to look at protein. The word protein is a Greek word derived meaning of first importance. It could not be more aptly named. All of the structural material within the body is built out of protein. All of the natural structural material of the body are built out of protein. The building blocks of protein are amino acid. Alright? The building blocks of protein are amino acids. Every reaction that takes place within the body, nervous, digestive, muscular, or circulatory, is directly dependent on the substance of protein and its presence in the body. So, all the building blocks of the body must have some form of protein. So, protein is important. Again, we want to emphasize now the quality and the quantity now. We want to emphasize the quantity and the quality of the protein. Now, children require higher protein diets in order to carry out the vast building processes within their bodies. Even after the body has formed and grown, the need for protein continues to be primary, because again, all the aspects of the body, all the facets of the body needs protein. So you must have protein in its right place, in the right amount, in the right proportion, so your body can have what it takes to grow and to grow well. Living tissue is in a constant state of breaking down, needing to rebuild. Amino acids, the building blocks of all tissues, are constantly being exchanged for new amino acid combinations. Blood carries these amino acids and act as a delivery service to carry them everywhere that they need to go in the body. If available, supply runs low even for a short time. The blood in its delivery node will leave out protein from the surrounding tissue for delivery elsewhere. In other words, you see, we say we're faithful and wonderful. Look what is happening here. If there's not sufficient protein in the body, the blood now is going to distribute the protein to where it feeds need to go more. So when there's excess now, when there's not enough protein now, the body is going to move the protein to the organs that need it most. In other words, some organs might be deprived. Why? Because there's not sufficient protein to go around. So what the body is doing? The body is putting it where it's needed most. Which means that there's some places that are going to be deficient, whereas some places are going to have enough. It means therefore that if you use it and you use protein in the right amount and you have the correct servings each meal, it means that for the body don't have to be doing this kind of gymnastics. Alright? The body can just be balanced and things can be right. But we're living in an imbalanced situation. So things, when it's not balanced, it's going to cause chaos, and that's why it's important for us to keep things in balance. Now, adults need protein for repairs and to carry out myriads of metabolic reactions that take place every minute. So adult needs protein as well as children. Now, lack of protein is a serious state of crisis that the functioning healthy body cannot long endure without permanent negative effects. So if you don't have enough protein body, it's just as bad as if you have too much. What we're saying is balance. Have sufficient, have it in balance, have it in the right proportion. Now, high protein diets have other decided advantages. For example, many individuals suffer from some form or some level of hypoglycemia. Since the glucose from protein is released at a very low state, this reduces the risk of an insulin overreaction within their bodies. Since protein ingestion is very important to our good health, we need to study how we can get good quality protein and how that protein is absorbed and assimilated. What we're saying again is that it is the quantity and the quality of the food that matters. So we talk about protein and its important effect on the body, or the importance of it in the body. We're talking about the quality of the protein, because you can be eating a whole heap of protein and the quality is bad. Or you can be eating the right quality but not in the right quantity. So there must be a balance. I think what we're saying here is that everything comes down to a balance now. How do we balance it? How do we have the right proportion? Well, speak to your dietitian or your nutritionist, and they're going to give you further help. They're going to give you pointers as to how you can balance your diet. That's what they study. That's what they train for, to make sure that you have enough stuff in your body to keep you going. Now, as we wind down, I want to remind us that all the food items that were made mention of, yes, the body needs them, but it must be used in the right proportion. You can't use less or more, just use what is good. So if your level of protein should be 2 grams per day, let it be 2 grams, no more, no less. If your sugar content is supposed to be half a gram per day, let it be half a gram per day. The same thing with the salt. Whatever is the required amount for each day, stick to that, or even a little bit low. A little bit low won't harm you. It keep you on the safe line. And so, my friends, as we wrap up today, I want you to remember that you're fearfully and you're wonderfully made, and that God desires us to be in the best of health, even as our poor prospers. But then for you to be in the best of health now, you got to be careful how you treat your body. You got to be careful what you eat, how you eat, and in what proportion to eat. And so I pray that God will bless you, that you will keep in touch with us at Second Advent Radio at gmail.com, or you can call us at 562-1015, or you can call me direct 781-2658, and we're here to answer all your questions. We're here to answer all your concerns, because we are interested in your health. And as we often say, healthy lives can serve God better, and God has given us this message, which is a message to prepare people to meet the God. So God bless you today, until we come again next time.
I do hope that this health session was meaningful and informative. Remember, the Lord's desire is for you to be healthy and prosperous. Be blessed.